All right, folks, welcome to another What's Your Story. We're going to talk about some different things and introduce you. If you haven't already, how could you not be subscribed to this guy, Brandon, the anime guy, my friend? Thank you so much for hanging out with me, brother.
Absolutely. It's good to be with you here, Pops. And how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I am blessed. It's always fun to just kind of chat and, talk to, I say you guys, meaning, my fellow YouTubers and creators. And we kind of came up similar times, similar experiences, and some of those things. And we've gotten to know each other a little bit over that time. And wanted to give you a chance to, let's just dive into some things. I don't know, see where it leads us, I guess. So before we get too far though, let's do an elevator pitch on who Brandon the anime guy is, and then we'll transition into like how did you end up on doing YouTube.
Absolutely. Well, I am Brandon, the anime guy. I got started a little over 2 years ago. My original channel, for those that know the lore, know that I had a different persona then, and someone didn't take quite kindly to it. So it got nuked from orbit. But I decided to try once again, and it's worked out pretty good. Been been at it now for a little over a year and a half under the current channel, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing that, and primarily been talking pretty much all sorts of anime, old school, current season stuff. So much of it is just so much fun to do.
It's been great. I've been you're one of the few people I've met that will dumb anime down for someone like me who's a noob, who's watched a
Hmm.
few movies, maybe little pieces of shows, things here and there, but it hasn't really been something I'm gravitating towards. I don't try to pretend to like or get into things that I don't know much about. I'm not going to pretend. So you've been able to at least be a gateway for me to kind of pick and choose through that. Because obviously, when you come into things, this many years, it's like I look at things. It's like it's overwhelming. There'll be like 20 seasons of something, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know where to grab fruit from the tree with something that
No,
big. Um,
I'm I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I've with anime and with manga more recently. I tend to have gravitated more towards the shorter season or the stuff that's only gone maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years. But I've actually taken the plunge and started my One Piece journey and started my Dragon Ball journey. And the best advice that I can give for those type of things is to go online, find the various story arcs, how many chapters of the manga it encompasses, how many episodes it encompasses. Focus on that, bust it out. When you're done, take a break from it, and then come back a week or two later. And so far, it's worked out really well. Uh, let's see. Right now, I've got two different series going. That's a monthly series. One with Ironcaster, where we talk One Piece each month, and the first month we did half of the East Blue saga. The second month was the second half of the East Blue, and then for this month, it's going to be basically the first half of the Alabasta saga, all the way up to the Alabasta Islands. And then that particular arc is 40 episodes long. So it's basically as big as what the first half of it was just for the one. But for these longer series that have been going like that, that is the best way to handle it, so that way you don't get burned out. And then as far as the anime watching and all that, that's the primary purpose of Anime 101, is to not only to have a guest on and to talk about it, but to, when needed, to break it down into its simplest forms, to give recommendations both that are great for people that have been into anime for all their lives, or great for people that are just getting started into it, and showing just how good it can be.
And that's the stuff that I appreciate because I'm on that side of the fence for this. I get this. I kind of correlate what you do to kind of where I'm at with a lot of the comic book stuff that I'll do, where I get a lot of folks that will just ask me for a standalone story or an entry point. I like this character. What do I read? What do you recommend? So I can try to, because people again, you look at the giant library of stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so late to the game. I don't know how to get to that. Um, what drew you to decide to kind of do just anime on YouTube?
Well, when I let's see, it all started right after the election of 2020. I had primarily been a, a political junkie YouTube watcher, and seeing what happened and all the fallout from that, it put me into a pretty good depression. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna drop most of that, clear all that out, and just, if I remember correctly, I think I originally got into the pop culture side of things. I want to say it was originally with Doomcock, and then I think Echo Base and uh, Loki's Mornings of Mischief. It was one of the somewhere in the mix of it. One of those I happened to stumble upon, probably because it was right around the time that all the Gina Carano stuff was going down with Disney, and stumbled upon it. Started to chat in the chats, hang out, sent super chats, got messages, talked more with people, got invited onto shows, and I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna do this, because my wife had said, why don't you do this? She said I should do something like this back in like 2014, 2015, and I didn't have the wherewithal or the drive to do it then, but because of having a little more time, being working from home because of the coof and all that, I had more of the time, more of the drive, didn't have to go to the office, and the kids were starting to finally get a little older to where they're more self-sufficient, they can take care of themselves, they don't need me as much. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, what do I want to cover? And I started getting back into anime a little bit, watched Assassination Classroom, had been watching My Hero Academia because our oldest, that was still living with us at the time, she was really liking My Hero. We had got her the first 20 volumes, the box set, and I was having a blast watching them. Like, no one else in the spheres are talking about this. Most everybody else is either covering straight pop culture, movies, TV, Western movies, TVs. Either
Mm-hmm.
British or American or some amalgamation of it, or comics or comic book movies, and nobody else is talking anime. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I like anime. I can get back into it because I had been into it back when I was a teenager. So I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. And from there, it has blossomed into the full bore obsession to where I pretty much don't watch anything else other than anime because of just how bad most of the new stuff is, or at least in my eyes, most of it is. There's probably some of it's good, but trying to find something on either regular TV or through any of the streamers that both my wife and I can watch, because that's typically what we would do together. Once when the kids were younger, put them to bed, we'd watch a show or two. We used to watch all the stuff on the CW back before they started going down the wokey woke stuff, and after we stopped watching those, and ABC stopped having funny comedies, and just needed something else to do, and yeah, that's just how it worked out for me diving into anime. And she doesn't like to watch most of it, but she has been watching One Piece with me, so that's been nice to have that together time, even though it's watching something that I prefer, not necessarily that she prefers, because she knows that there's nothing else that that she would want to watch. So it's
It is
it's been
also
really weird
true,
how it's all
brother.
come about.
It is. It is. It is. It's not truer words has been said because it's just like I spend so much of my time just kind of balancing that. I call it the palate cleanser, right? I kind
Hmm.
of have to have a little bit of the palate cleanser to find something I can go home to. That's how I ended up doing the Saturday morning cartoon thing and stuff like that. That's why I kind of like enjoy doing this. It's something that can give me, a fuel to get through some of the bad stuff as well.
Yeah.
What has been one of the most rewarding elements of doing that? You know what I mean? To become like a YouTuber.
Well, getting to meet all the various people throughout the world. I've got people that have subscribed to the channel and part of the channel membership as far away as Japan, and some in Korea, England, Germany, and mostly here in America because that's where I'm at. But it has been a great thing to know that there's more people like me that love anime, are big into it, love to talk about it, and that we have something that's still going entertainment wise that is not only still great, but is in some respects getting better. Now it does have its issues. We do have issues with Crunchyroll and Funimation and all, and some of these other houses messing with translations to fit the message. It's not as widespread, but it's something that's being called out consistently. And fortunately, the Japanese people they don't typically take too kindly to having foreigners mess with their product like that. So that gives me hope that this medium that's used will not only continue to get bigger, but also become more widespread and popular. And that is a two-edged sword because a lot of the stuff from the past it's really good precisely because it is so Japanese. And unless you have a base understanding of Japanese culture and an appreciation for what it is, it's going to be it's harder to grasp than let's
Mm,
say we as kids watching Saturday morning cartoons made by publishers or art houses here in America.
right.
So,
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that the camaraderie in the community, I don't know what for
oh, it's
fellowship,
huge.
whatever term people want to use, was, and it still is, just so refreshing. You know what I mean? I look forward
Yes,
to
it
the day
is.
we can break bread together. You know what I mean? It's so interesting to see that. I don't know. It feels weird. I don't know about you, but we're at least close enough in age where it seemed like internet friends was this weird thing, but now it almost feels so much more normalized because so many of us have gotten to know one another through these
Hmm.
extended conversations, our like-mindedness and pop culture, different things that when we share these inner experiences together. Um, kind of, do you kind of see where I'm coming from with that? It's just,
Oh,
is it kind of
absolutely.
weird? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
prior to the coup, I would have said everybody was out of their mind doing this. But since the coup, yeah, it has basically become second nature. I can't imagine me not doing something like this. As with where I live, pretty much the only friends I've got that are still here are either my one brother who's in town and him and his family, but we're all busy, so I don't see him very often. Otherwise, I don't really. All of my friends are have moved away or have families, and
Mm,
we're just so busy with our own lives that we just don't get the time to do things like even like how we were able to do 10 years ago, and definitely nowhere near like what it was 20 years ago, when I was in my 20s. So, but having the ability to talk with people face to face, camera to camera, and have it be instantaneous like it is has been such a godsend. It basically is like we are sitting right next to each other and we can converse with each other. We can talk about the ideas, talk about the things we like, what we don't like, share videos with each other, or just have a discussion about is KK getting fired? Is she not getting fired? Does it really matter at this point?
Lord help us.
Those type of discussions.
Lord help us.
But
Lord help us if that's the case. That's for sure.
yeah,
So,
yeah, no kidding. But I, even though anime has become my specialty, there are lots of other topics that I do like to talk about, and when I do get the chance to talk about them, I have a ball with it. So yeah, it has become such a second nature, and I can't. It would be very difficult to go back to prior. At least it would be for me.
to imagine that time without it and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I agree. So, what is it? Because you mentioned how supportive your wife was and how encouraging she was.
Yes.
What has it been like trying to juggle that now, having kids and family and
Oh,
being
it's
married
hard.
and a day job, and talk that through a little bit on how you navigate that?
Oh, well, last year I overdid it. Um, it for those that don't know or are wondering what it takes to really I guess be successful, whatever that definition may be. Time. You have to have the time. Now, if you're just doing live streams and nothing else, okay. Setting aside dedicated amounts of time, however long you think you need to do, an hour to 5 6 hours per day. If you can do that and you can have that schedule and be consistent with it, then yes, the subscribers will come and things will start rolling. As long as you're entertaining and you bring something of value. But if you are like us, the day job, the family, the wife, trying to balance it out is extremely difficult. And last year, I went too far with how much time I was spending doing this, both from the live stream standpoint and from trying to do the video editing standpoint. And she told me that I had to reevaluate all of it because I wasn't making, when it goes to making money on YouTube, it can be really difficult as
Hmm.
far as as far as being able to cover your expenses. And that's what she told me. She said, "You're not making enough money to justify the amount of time you're spending." And I told her, "You're right. I had spent way too much time, especially with the video editing. I tried to make really nice videos, 10, 15 minutes long. They
Hmm.
do take time to do. If I remember correctly, I think it's for every 10 minutes they say you should budget at least an hour for the editing process. And then if you really want to go crazy, 2 hours. But I was spending way too much time in front of my computer, both for work, because I was able to work from home most of the time, and for doing this. So this year I've tried to be more balanced in my approach. I have my main show that's on Saturday, typically at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's the Anime 101 for 2 hours, and I hold it to 2 hours. I have since added a Tuesday and a Thursday show pretty consistently. This week's been the exception because of 4th of July, but that's the other two times I do. And then I can, if I have the need arise, for a Monday and a Wednesday or a Friday show, but I try to keep those free so that way I can spend a little more time with Amy, maybe a little more time watching anime to get caught up on the current season that I'm watching, or to do stuff with the kids when they're around. Now, the kids are teenagers now, a whole lot
Right.
more self sufficient. They prefer to hang out, do their own stuff, and do stuff with their friends than hang out with me. So it has freed up a little more time, but this year has been a little better. It has been better this year because I've scaled back on the video production side and stuck with a pretty stringent streaming regimen. Now, I am trying to do shorter clips that only take maybe 30 minutes to do editing, and trying to do that at night when everybody else is in bed. I'm a night owl, so I'm typically up till 2 anyways. So, it has been better at it, and as I've gotten better at it, more and more people have been popping in, showing up, etc., and it has become easier to do, but you
Okay.
just got to be careful to maintain that balance, because if you overdo it, you'll you'll see the kids pass you by, or the wife say sayonara, or you're not paying enough attention to me, things of that nature. So
Yeah, I mean everything in life is going to be that constant balance, and you want to
yeah.
try to have that cost balance. And I couldn't agree more. Like you can get like really really in the weeds on editing and the amount of clips that you try to add, lining up your audio, trying to do some really
Hmm.
fancy things. And I don't know about you, man, but it didn't take me long to kind of figure out how to recalibrate that to a cost benefit thing. Like it's just not worth my time to drop that much time for 100 views, 200 views, 300. I don't know where the
Exactly.
value scale gets to, where the scale starts to tip and go, I gotta do something different. And in the enjoyment, I got to be honest. I enjoy this more, right? Do you enjoy more like the physical interaction, that we can have the conversation rather than putting out a video?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I prefer doing the live streams. I prefer doing this type of format, an interview format, as opposed to me just speaking into the ether and hoping that someone out there has the time or the wherewithal or anything to actually listen to the whole entire thing. So
Mm.
yeah, you do have to balance those things. And as a content creator in general, I don't think it matters which platform, until you get to a certain size where you're getting a certain amount of views, or watch hours in the case of YouTube, that the residual that you can make from the ads starts to overtake what you can make from, let's say, memberships and or super chats.
Right.
It's, for us smaller guys, it's definitely a balancing act, and unless you're a masochist, I don't recommend to overdo the longer form clipped format, the 10 to 15 minute stuff, unless you're just doing it like what we're doing, which is talking about it, having it be recorded, and then you can chunk it up if you want in 15-minute or so things, but very minor editing. The less time you have to spend editing something, the better.
That's the way to do it right there.
Absolutely the
It's
better.
all about templates for me. I know that I have to deal with some blemishes, and some of you will find some. I actually just did a video where I was trying to share a video and clip. I could not get it. I could not get it to go to the screen, the one frame.
Oh
So I'm
yeah,
like, I'm
gotta
just
love
going
that.
to have a snippet and just snip, snip, and just cut it on out. Keep it
Yeah,
moving. Keep it moving.
exactly.
I mean,
Keeping the
I
flow
know it's
going.
not the best. It's not as top tier as you'd want it to be, but at some point you just got to take a lump and go, listen, I struck out on that one. We're going to go back. It's there. It's done, the voice, and I communicated what I wanted, but sometimes, yeah, you got to
Yeah,
have that balance. And that's a learning thing, right? Because we had this, we go back to our older self, we'd probably be like, listen, I know you're excited. I know you're excited. However, let's stay in this lane.
exactly. And yeah, once a channel does hit a certain amount of subscribers and start getting, the several hundred to 500 to 1,000, then the ad revenue part really can kick in, and then at that point it does make a little more sense to maybe put just that little extra tiny bit of polish on it. But unless you're somebody like a nerdrotic, at 3/4, or even
Well, that's
a
different because then you have staff.
yeah, that's a
Like you
whole
have like a
exactly. Then you
massive,
can
yeah,
afford to pay someone
yeah.
to do the editing, or to write the script, or whatever it is you want to do for these produced videos. But
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
yeah, I agree.
when I think about it myself, I don't think that I would ever want to do that, and here's why. I prefer to speak like this, off the cuff, no script, using my mind, basically to help my mind from going. But I prefer doing this as opposed to having it fully scripted out. When it's scripted, I've done that before, and to me, I sound robotic. Even though as a communications major, I have that fundamental understanding on how to do public speaking, or how to do a speech and make it sound like I am speaking without a script. It's just not the same, and you can tell when somebody is speaking with the script. Some people are really really good at it. I myself, I'm not. So for myself, I just don't ever see myself really going down that route. And I've tried just recording with just my voice, and then having the screen on the website that I'm wanting to pull the stuff from. That's fine and dandy, but that's what other people do. I don't like doing that. But then again, I typically that's why I cover anime, because I don't want to cover what everybody else is covering. There's a lot of other people that do other things, and I want to be different.
No, I think that's the fun part of this, right? Everyone trying to find their voice and find their niche, and
Yeah.
there's a comfort level like that. I mean, um, we could easily dissect the differences between live streaming data versus a video maker data versus a shorts maker. They're not. They're only related in the fact that they share the type of statistics that they're gathering, but the rates and speeds and styles and approaches, they all are completely different. And you
Yeah.
kind of have to kind of find your way to know what will work. Like, because you just said, like, you reduced so much of your editing time to focus on like doing some live streaming stuff, because it's almost like a shift of time and resources. All right, well, if I don't do this, then I can put that over here. And I think that's what you constantly have to do, is reevaluate your ability to do that. And then, and that big word that hangs over our head is consistency. Come up with some sort of
Hmm.
plan that you're putting pins in the calendar regularly, whatever that is. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. It doesn't matter. Whatever you can manage, right?
Exactly. And since going to the current schedule that I've been on, it has become a lot easier. And at least for what I cover, I have found that the longer form stuff, the hour, 2 hour plus stuff, once it's aired, it's only got a shelf life. Even though most of it's evergreen, it maybe has a shelf life of maybe a month or two. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of the older stuff down, and I'm re-snipping them and make them into shorter clips that I can then re-show to people. Hey, when I had this person on, here's a little thing that we talked about. And it's slow going because it is a little different, but I think it'll something like that will help keep things like that fresher longer, and allow someone who is new to get into it easier because I'll have those smaller chunks that they can start with, and then when they show up live, then they can get the whole experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is the one big thing that you have your eyes on over the next 6 months to a year? Like you either maybe a goal that you're trying to strive for, or something you want to try to complete, or what's sort of out there as like a benchmark, a flag that you're striving for right now.
Well, as far as the channel goals, I'm hoping to be to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's had ebbs and flows, but we keep growing. As I said, my what I cover is considerably more niche than most pop culture ish type of topics. So it has been taking longer to get it up and going and to get it growing. So that's the first one. I want to try to beat a 2,000 by the end of the year. The second is just to remain consistent, and the third is not to piss off the wife. So if I can accomplish those three things, I'll be in good shape. And I would say if I
That's
had to
awesome.
have a fourth, it would be able to. I would say to be able to make enough from this to at least cover my costs, because uh, getting into this, it can be as easy as just having a microphone and nothing else. But the further into it you go, the more things you'll notice that people that are either in our size bracket, they typically have a few things: a reasonable to really nice camera, if they go on screen, a better than average microphone, and to help with sanity, more than one screen. And of course, having a fairly nice computer, they all make a huge difference, both from the editing standpoint. The faster computer you have, the quicker you can go through, do your edits, have it rendered, etc. Or just even with running a live stream. If you're running a 10-year-old potato computer, the production value, even with something as basic and or robust as StreamYard, it can some of that can help make or break you. So, like for myself, I like to show a lot of video clips. Well, if my internet was terrible, I wouldn't be able to do that. If I didn't have, as nice a computer as I do, it'd be harder to share that screen, to have it run, broadcasting, sending the data out to the internet, pulling stuff from YouTube back in from the internet. You have to have all those things in a reasonable balance. So,
I couldn't agree more. I listen. You're talking to me because it was earlier this year. Pulled the plug, made a major computer upgrade, and I'm not state of the art or anything like that, but I definitely was hitting those walls, like you were saying,
yeah.
where it was connectivity, it was sharing, it was having more than 4 to 6 people on a live stream.
Hmm.
It was the type of time that was being wasted, downloading, uploading, having more than one screen open. It was just like, okay, at some point you have to make those jumps. Um,
Yes.
and, like I said, folks, I wouldn't say that needs to stop you from doing something. I think you hit the nail on the head too, where you're like, it's probably in the order of computer and microphone first. Cause if I had to cut one of those three things out, you cut the camera out, just
Yeah.
be an avatar for a while, continue to work things. Don't kill yourself over the camera. There's a ton of really moderately expensive things that are 1080p. Just get to 1080p. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, here's little thing with me. I've always been a techie, major techie
Mhm.
forever. It's what I've done since I was a kid. I have gone through more microphones, more cameras, more keyboards, more mice, more monitors in the past 3 years than I have gone through the prior 20. So I can say with absolute certainty that yes, if you have to do a hierarchical order, once you start deciding that you want to spend more and more time with this, at least a reasonable computer. If you game with it, great. If not, that's fine. It just needs to have enough to be able to run, anywhere from 5 to maybe 10 browser windows open to be able to share things properly. Then definitely, absolutely a quality microphone, whether it be a nicer quality digital only one like the Blue Yetis, or what I found, at least for myself, for the way my voice works and how I hear myself, an analog microphone to a reasonable quality digital to analog converter. Personally, I have found that to be the best sounding, at least for my vocal ranges, compared to when I was running my Blue Yeti, compared to when I was running the Shure microphone through its direct digital. So they can get expensive, but once you find one that you like and you think you sound the way that you should sound, get it, stick with it, and love it. And then yeah, for a webcam, I know there's a lot of people that love to use their digital SLR or DSLR cameras and then have it connect to the computer, and you can do some pretty neat effects with it. But even a base one of those is at least, from a Canon or from Panasonic, is $500 to $600. Whereas the webcam I've got now is a nice Elgato camera that's running a Sony processor in it, and it does a much better than average job with the 1080. And yes, with the broadcast software, they're typically limited to 1080 anyway, so no real reason to go above that unless you're going to do a crap ton of stuff using OBS, and you can have it capture in higher resolutions and then shrink it down. But
Right.
that just requires more hardware, more space, more everything in order to do something like that. So that's stuff that you can save till later.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So your generating the content matters more, and getting your feet wet,
Yes.
working through some of those bugs and nuances are going to
Yes,
matter a lot more
absolutely.
than some of these idiosyncrasies. What has been some of the biggest sort of drama and headache that's come from all this, besides stuff that you already touched on at home, the home life? But what about like the other part of the drama headaches that are out there?
Uh, at least for me, it was having a prior channel get nuked and not having a reasonable explanation. That's more of a YouTube thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But whenever something like that gets you down, you got two choices: either stay down, whine and bitch about it, or get up and move forward again. And I chose to give it another try, and this has been much better the second time around. It's basically like my marriage. My second marriage has been way better than my first one. So for those that are in the same boat, you probably understand that. But um, I would say the biggest thing that has uh, that has caused me the most grief has been basically content creator and content creator drama, and having it between two people that you know. And the problem that I had with that, because it has happened to me, is I know them both reasonably well, but not the I'm your next door neighbor well. So I tried not to pick sides with it, and for a while there it was working fine. But I've there have been some people that I really like, that I thought I really liked and all that, but just falling away and not keeping in contact, or people that were doing stuff like that and then they just stop because they just either don't want to do it anymore, or they don't care, or upset with me because I like hanging out with one person, not upset with me because I don't hang out with another person.
Yep.
It's that stuff. It's that side of things that that is the hardest. And for me, it's actually not too bad in comparison to others who claim to not be a YouTuber but are.
Yeah, it
So
definitely doesn't come knocking on my door like
yeah,
I know other people get. So I'm very grateful for that. And I got to be honest, a lot of people are going to know I'm just not going to get into some of
yeah,
it.
I don't like dealing with
I
it.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
with you there. With you
yeah,
there.
dealing with drama is a royal pain, and I would rather not deal with it. And that's another reason why I chose to cover anime, because in comparison to all other forms of Western media, it's got the least amount of problems. And I have enough negativity in my life. If if you were to know me in the real world, you would probably say, he's not the happiest of people. I'm happy, but if I'm going to talk about something, I want to talk about something fun. And I know that doesn't get the clicks, and I know that it doesn't it doesn't drive things. But I prefer to talk about stuff that's fun and to be happy about it, as opposed to the other. And I hadn't touched my mouse for 30 minutes. My monitor tried to shut itself off. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is this thing trying to shut down on me?
It happened to me today. I actually totally freaked out. I was in the middle of updating the description and stuff on a video,
Oh
and then it just
man.
stopped working. And I'm like, what is happening? And it's like, I'm trying to figure things out. Well, I'm waiting for this window update to start. Trying to run
Yeah.
a Windows update, and it had that long lag time before it
Oh, I
actually
hate
kicks in and
that.
even tells you that it's going to do it. I'm in like a total panic mode. Like, what does it do? I don't understand. So yeah,
Yeah.
I know first world YouTuber problems, people. It's the struggle is real. The
The
struggle is real.
struggle is real, and unfortunately, that's a Microsoft being stupid in how their systems do things problem. But yeah, I would say my biggest bugaboo about doing this is definitely the other YouTube drama between other creators, and I try, I stay out of it, and I follow who I follow, and the other thing is trying to differentiate myself from everybody else because as we know, there are certain channels that are much larger than us that they pretty much all talk about the same thing. They all put out videos pretty close about the same topic all the time, and I can only take so much of the exact same thing over and over and over again. And I know why they do it is because it does get the clicks. It does help them to be able to do then the funner stuff that they like to do, but doesn't, let's say, make them the money as compared to the rage bait stuff that does make them the money.
Hmm.
And I'd rather, I think I'd, maybe it's just a personality quirk of mine, but I'd rather be poor but yet have fun in being poor than to be rich and get rich by basically yelling and screaming at parked cars all the time. Not that it's not fun to yell at parked cars. I love Comics Division, but uh, it's just one of those things. You basically have the choice. You either go for the clickbait or you just do what you want. And when you do what you want, it definitely takes longer to get it going.
Yeah, I'm in this like 60-40, or I don't even know if it's half and half, but I'm in this place where it's like I'll just I don't know that trust me, I'm probably the most generic rage person of YouTubers in our little group. Like I'm like I could be hating on something, but it's mostly me just face palming, just like this just totally sucks.
Yeah.
Um, not screaming and ranting and raving and trying to be funny when I'm just reacting in real ways. But I'm like, so I would massage what you said and just say it, and that I have no desire in being a slave to the algorithm, chasing
Exactly.
clickbait, chasing the story of the day, or manufacturing stories to get enough views to keep the money flowing in. I don't want to ever get to that point. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means I'm sacrificing or giving up a hope that this becomes, or this that means that there's going to be ceilings. I've already experienced that. I know there is.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But I'm with you. I'd rather try to find a way to make sure that I'm having fun doing this every step of the way. That's all there is to
Exactly.
it. You know what
You
I
got to
mean?
have
I'm
fun
doing
doing it.
cartoons. I'm doing
Otherwise,
cartoon
why do it?
videos weekly, Brandon. What do you want from me? I'm doing like 80 view cartoon videos, sitting, but I'm in it for the long haul, buddy. I'm in it for the long haul because those are
Yeah.
timeless.
Yes.
Um,
I'm in that same boat, and I know
yeah.
that our friend Loki, in his weekly series, as far as being a content creator, has touched upon this subject quite a few times, and I know that for myself, I've every once in a while I do think, is this worth it? And then I go back and say, yeah, it is. I'm having fun. But there is another
Mm,
YouTuber that I really liked who is not part of this sphere. He's more in the tech sphere. Has like 140,000 followers. He just came out and said that he's done. And the
mm,
reason that he's done is because the the balance is off. The amount of effort and energy that he has put into the creating the videos, because that's primarily what he did, versus what he was getting out of it was way off. And he, with him, he had 140,000, getting tens of thousands of plus views for each of those things, even if it's only just once a week. Yeah, it was rather interesting to see him throw in the towel like that. And then when
well,
he
and I hope
explained
that.
how much he put into it
Hmm.
to for the house, and even though he had the house, he said that he had to convert basically the whole basement into a studio. So it was fascinating from that aspect to see that that even somebody who has reached, I would say if you get above the 100,000 K level, yeah, you're pretty well either on your way or you're where you want to be. At least in my estimation, that seems to be a reasonable attainment to be able to, or at least I would think, to be able to sustain something. But for him, it wasn't, and it
Yeah, I
was
mean, I
strange to
also
see.
think it's, somebody's just biting off more than you can chew, and what are your goals, the
Hmm.
cost benefits. There's so many things that can factor into that. 'Cause I remember just the amount of hours and stuff going into, the YouTube piece of something else that I was doing with a website that had like radio show stuff I was doing as well. So it's like a
Yeah,
third leg of things on YouTube. And then when that got pulled out, they basically just said, you're demonetized. It was like the wind kick, like taken out of the sail. Like, well, now what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't, so it's like when you go through these roller coaster rides of different things like that, and then you shift resources and then something else happens again. It's a very difficult thing. But again, I think it's just not any different in the real world with business. We
true.
we could be running you're a baker and you do this, and I'm a butcher and I do that, and then we're both like, we hang out, we have some coffee, whatever, we compare some notes, and next thing you know that this city ordinance happened and they're going to dig up this road, and we'd be having similar impacts even though cause and effects would all be different. And I think that's really all it comes down to. It's like really not a way to insulate yourself from the struggle is real of being a business owner. And even if you're just doing this for complete fun, you do no desire to be monetized. It's a business because every other aspect of it around you is a business. I'm
Exactly.
sorry to tell you that part. It's not because you're in it for just the money. It's just because everything around it is. YouTube is. They are definitely in it for the money. They could
Yeah,
care less about you as a person as a human being. That's for sure. So,
that is so true. So
yeah.
true.
um, so you definitely have talked about this a lot. I know you've kind of gotten to that. It's like you really do want to just enjoy the stuff that you love and that kind of thing. Um, how do you? I mean, I know we also talked about time management as well. Um, are you able to get the wife to watch some of the anime shows with you? Is that just kind of part of your routine?
It really depends. She
Okay.
she did watch all the way through season 4 of My Hero Academia with me, but that was prior to the coof that we got up to that point. She has watched some of 5 with me, but since they've already gone through season 6 and are about to start up season 7 this fall, it's a little behind, a little harder to do. But she has been watching One Piece with me since about episode 20, mainly because there's nothing else on TV for her to watch, and we've got access to all your freebie type service like Tubi and those, and then we have access to a Netflix account, which fortunately I do not pay for, and I will never pay for, uh, because of issues with Netflix and personal stands. But also the same with Disney Plus or with Hulu or with any of these others that we had. Eventually, we run into an issue of what are they making? Is it compatible with our belief systems? At least not offensive, because there's going to be stuff that's going to be made by people that are going to be definitely not within our standard wheelhouse or with what we believe. But as long as they're not being offensive about it, yeah, we'll give it a watch. Like I used to watch Arrow and all that. But once they started to go all woke and doing that, the social justice stuff, we shut that crap off because we do not agree with that one bit. But with her, she's gone through all of Disney Plus and all the stuff that they've been putting on there she, is just junk. Even if it's not preachy, it's just not good. Run into a lot of the same problems with Netflix, although not to the same extent because they're a lot more diversified. But with Hulu, same problem. We don't have HBO Max because of the same problem. It's no longer HBO Max; it's just Max, and it's complete. It's going down the tube too. The same with Paramount; they just don't have anything. All of these different companies that decided to start their own streaming service. The biggest problem that they have is they cannot create enough quality content that can last decades and go back to watch. So we end up going to other services or to something more like Netflix that can get more evergreen type products, or we've watched older series. We actually went through a Night Court this
Hmm.
past winter, but
Yep.
That's on Amazon, but Amazon has their freebie service, which is just basically ad-supported Amazon Prime without the Prime part. But even when we do find a show, either older or newer that we do like and that we're willing to watch together, we buzz through it and then it's done. Whereas with at least with One Piece, I know that I've got several years of worth of stuff out of it, so she will sit down and watch that with me because it's time together for us and she can at least tolerate it. Even if she doesn't watch it too much, she's on her phone most of the time just dinking around, but if we have nothing else to do, all of our work is done, not needing to go to the storage sheds to work on them or anything like that.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, if there's going to be a anime guy on non-anime stuff series where you're just like, I'm going to talk about Batman today. You know, I
I
watched this today. Just little, I don't know, some sort of nuanced.
I did try that. I
Yeah,
actually did do some things on Super Mario Brothers. It hurt. The algorithm didn't help it. Let's just put it that way.
yeah,
I enjoyed it
yeah,
because I love Super Mario Brothers, and I was
yeah.
absolutely giddy to learn that Japan or that Miyamoto worked on a Japanese only script that Fun or not Funimation but Illumination did with them and had it a slightly different script and voice casted for the Japanese. Unfortunately, the 4K release didn't include it, but I thought it was unique to have that, and I wish that I could get it because I'd love to see the difference between what they saw versus what we got. But
Yeah.
I did talk Super Mario Brothers both immediately out of the cinema for myself. I had a guest come on that had seen it, and they did okay, but with it not since it's not in my wheelhouse or the specific focus of the channel, it doesn't help. It doesn't help it. Even though I liked it, it just yeah.
Oh, you're up against a lot of competition for something like Mario Brothers too, though, because it was probably the one of it was if it's definitely one of the better movies of the year, especially because most of these movies are just really, really long. Forget
Yeah.
about just quality issues, just the length that people have to commit of their lives. It's just it's gotten a little bit ridiculous. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Length of
before we
movies
wrap
is
up,
a
though, I want to
problem.
ask, what is the one big misconception about anime that you run into the most? Like, oh, another person who thinks X, Y, or Z.
Well, you still run into people that think that anything that's animated is for kids, and I want to stick my boot straight up their hindquarters. You also have others that are like, anime? Doesn't that include tentacles or something stupid like that? And I don't deny that there is, just like with any other form of entertainment, there is a subsection of it that is strictly 100% for consenting adults. Now, having said that, most of it, if not almost like 95 ish something percent of it, is there's something for everybody. There's stuff for kids as young as 3 because they have kids too, so they're going to have their shows that are specific towards toddlers
Mm-hmm.
and kindergartners, first graders, second graders to help them get the skills needed to go. And there's a show that's been going forever called Doraemon that fits within that range. It's like got over 2,000 episodes or something like that, and
Wow,
movies
jeez,
movies
Louise.
galore. And then you have stuff for older kids like your Pokemons, your Digimons, Yu-Gi-Ohs, etc. Our kids here love those. Well, the kids over there love it too because they're fun. They treat them they don't treat them like they're stupid. They treat them with the proper amount of respect that a person of that age deserves, and their stories are fun. They may be simplistic in a lot of ways, but they are fun. Then you get into stuff that's for the older kids, the TV 14-ish, the teenager range. That's where a bulk of the heavy hitters throughout the years have come from. The shonen range, which is primarily aimed towards young men. That's where your My Hero Academias, your Yu Yu Hakusho's, your One Piece, all of these, all of the greatest stuff is typically been in that range. And then you do have some stuff that is specifically geared more towards adults, kind of like how HBO with their shows have been, like The Sopranos. Well, there are shows specifically like that for adults, like Goblin Slayer, like a Redo of Healer, like Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. They
Mhm.
are specifically for that mature audience, people that are 17 or older that can handle either the level of violence, the level of gore, or the level of situations that are there that are very strictly adult orientated situations. So
Okay.
just like anything else, it runs the whole gamut. I've seen and have loved stuff that's great for kids. Like I absolutely adore the original Pokemon. It's fun. And then I like stuff all the way up to Goblin Slayer, which is about as extreme in the violence as it gets in this day and age. And then of course there's stuff from the past that's even more extreme in its violence, which is strange because the Japanese typically abhor violence, but they can produce blood and sinew and things like that as good as the rest of us.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, folks, make sure you're subscribed. Check out the channel. I can't recommend enough the Anime 101 if you're not into anime or you're like figuring out how to get into anime or is this one worth watching or not watching, stuff like that. He has on like the best guests too, who really gives different perspectives and thoughts and very interesting conversations. So you can click the live button. You can see these shows he's been referring to, stuff like that. It's been awesome to get to spend time with you this morning, my friend. Thank you, my brother. It's been a lot of fun hanging out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here, and definitely follow me either on the YouTube. I also do have Twitter, but if you really want to know what I'm watching, I have a service that I use called AniList, ANILIST.co. If you sign up for it, you can keep track and create your own lists of anime to watch. Plus, you can follow me there and look at some of the various lists that I've created. I've got anime recommendations dating back to the 70s and as current as the current season. So if you have a particular time frame that you want to take a look at, it's there. It's compiled.
I'll make sure I get that link from him, folks, so it can be in the description. Especially if you're catching this after the fact, we'll make sure you get you something you can just easily click and get over there. Right click that, go check that out. And that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being here, folks. Thank you so much for watching our episode of Watch Your Story here every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time is a premiere. You can engage in the chat. Hopefully, I can make it. If not, I love going through the comments, leave the comments and thoughts, recommendations for guests, those kinds of topics, all those kinds of things are always wonderful for me. I appreciate it so much. And again, thank you enough for your time. Brandon, thank you for being here. Be blessed. Make tomorrow a little bit better than today. Talk hard, and I will see you next time.
Take care, everybody.